A dark curse loomed over the enchanted forest, where a witch named Elara was bound by traditions older than time. She longed for a love that could shatter her chains, but the price was steep. Would she risk it all for the chance of true love? As the full moon rose, fate began to stir. Elara had always been an outcast, feared and misunderstood by the villagers. They whispered of her dark powers and the curse that had tainted her lineage. Yet beneath her hardened exterior lay a heart yearning for acceptance and affection, a desire she believed was unattainable. One fateful evening, she encountered a brave young man named Kael, whose spirit shone brightly amidst the gloom. Ignoring the warnings of his friends, he approached Alara, sensing the warmth hidden behind her cold facade. Their eyes met, and an unspoken bond formed between them. As they spoke, Elara shared her tale of sorrow and the curse that shackled her to a life of solitude. Kale listened intently, captivated by her strength and vulnerability. He vowed to help her break the chains of tradition that held her captive, no matter the cost. Determined to find a way to lift the curse, Kale and Alara embarked on a journey through the enchanted forest. They encountered magical beings and treacherous obstacles, each challenge deepening their bond and testing their resolve. Love began to bloom amidst the danger. Their adventures led them to a wise old sorceress, who revealed that true love could indeed break the curse, but at a great price. The sorceress warned them that the act of true love would require immense sacrifice, one that could alter their fates forever. Faced with the weight of the sorceress's words, Elara hesitated. Could she risk Kale's life for her own freedom? Doubts clouded her heart, yet the fire of love ignited her spirit. She realized that a life without love was worse than any curse. With newfound determination, Elara chose to embrace love and its power. Together, they began to forge a plan to perform the sacrificial spell required to break the curse. Their hearts beat in unison as they prepared for the ultimate challenge ahead. As the night of the ritual approached, whispers of dissent grew among the villagers. Some believed Elara's curse was a punishment for her ancestors' sins, and they sought to stop the ritual at all costs. The tension between love and fear escalated. On the eve of the ritual, Kale and Alara stood at the edge of the enchanted forest. The air crackled with magic and uncertainty. They knew the villagers would come for them, but their love fueled their courage. They were ready to fight for their destiny. As the moon rose high, casting silver light over the gathering, the villagers approached, torches in hand. Ilara's heart raced, but she held Kale's hand tightly, drawing strength from their bond. The moment of truth was upon them. The ritual began, with Kale and Elara chanting ancient incantations. The air shimmered with power as they cast their love into the universe. A luminous barrier formed around them, deflecting the villagers' fear and anger, creating a sanctuary of hope. But just as they reached the climax of the spell, a villager, consumed by fear, threw a stone, shattering the barrier. Chaos erupted as villagers rushed toward them, their cries echoing through the night. Would love be enough to overcome this darkness? In that moment of chaos, Kael stepped forward, placing himself between Alara and the villagers. He declared his love for her, a love that transcended fear and tradition. His words rang out, challenging the very foundation of their beliefs. Alara, moved by Kael's bravery, felt a surge of magic within her. She joined him, their voices intertwining as they finished the incantation together. A brilliant light erupted from their joined hands, illuminating the night and enveloping them in warmth. As the light spread through the crowd, the villagers halted, their hearts softened by the display of love and courage. Fear began to dissipate, replaced by a dawning realization that love could indeed conquer all, even the harshest of traditions. With the final words of the spell, a wave of warmth swept through the forest. The curse began to lift, revealing the true beauty of Alara's magic, no longer a source of fear, but one of hope and renewal. She was free at last. As the first rays of dawn broke through the trees, Alara and Kale stood together, their hands still intertwined. The villagers approached them, no longer with hostility, but with acceptance. Together, they had rewritten their destinies. Elara realized that true love had not only freed her from her curse, but had also united the village. With Kale by her side, they vowed to create a new legacy where love and magic could coexist, breaking the chains of tradition once and for all. In the end, it was love that triumphed over darkness, proving that hearts united can change even the darkest of fates. Ilara and Kale's journey reminds us all that true love knows no bounds and can shatter even the strongest chains. As Ilara and Kale ventured deeper into the enchanted forest, the air crackled with magic. The towering trees whispered secrets of ages past, urging them onwards toward their destiny. Each step brought them closer to the heart of an ancient curse that had bound their families for generations. Suddenly, a chilling wind swept through the trees, carrying a haunting voice that echoed Alara's name. It was the spirit of an ancestor, warning them of the trials that lay ahead. The weight of her family's past pressed heavily upon Alara's heart as doubt began to creep in. However, Kale's unwavering support fortified Elara's resolve. He took her hand, promising that no matter the obstacles, they would face them together. Love had always been their sanctuary, a bond stronger than any curse that sought to divide them. As they pressed on, a clearing emerged revealing an ancient stone altar adorned with runes. This was the heart of the curse, a place where sacrifices had once been made to appease the spirits. With a deep breath, Alara approached, determined to confront her family's dark legacy. Alara knelt before the altar, her heart racing as she began to recite the incantation she had uncovered. The air shimmered with energy, and a tempest of magic surged around them. Kale stood guard, ready to protect her from whatever darkness might arise. As the final words escaped her lips, a blinding light erupted from the altar, pushing back the shadows that loomed. In that moment, Ilara felt the presence of her ancestors, their spirits guiding her. She realized she was not alone. Their strength flowed through her veins. But the moment of triumph was short-lived, as a dark figure emerged from the woods cloaked in shadow. It was Morgath, the vengeful sorcerer who had cursed Ilara's family. His eyes burned with rage and a thirst for revenge, ready to unleash chaos. With a sinister laugh, Morgath revealed the true nature of the curse, a bond of blood that linked Ilara to him, a lineage that would ensure darkness reigned if not broken. Ilara's heart sank. Her very existence had been entwined with his evil. Yet, in the depths of despair, Kale stepped forward, his eyes blazing with defiance. He proclaimed that love was stronger than blood, a force that could sever any chain. Ilara felt his conviction ignite a spark of hope within her. Morgath's fury intensified, and he unleashed a torrent of dark magic toward them. The air crackled as Ilara summoned her own magic, intertwining it with Kale's resolve. Together, they stood firm against the onslaught, their love forming a barrier of light. As the dark magic collided with their barrier, a shockwave erupted, shaking the very ground beneath them. Alara's heart raced. She could feel the weight of her ancestors' spirits supporting them, urging her to harness their power. Drawing upon the strength of generations, Alara began to channel the collective power of her ancestors. The barrier expanded, pushing back Morgath's darkness, illuminating the forest with a brilliance that had not been seen for centuries. Morgath, overwhelmed by the surge of light, staggered back, his power faltering. Desperation overtook him as he attempted to retaliate, but Ilara's resolve burned brighter, fueled by the love she shared with Kale. In a final act of defiance, Ilara raised her hands, channeling her love and the magic of her ancestors into a single, powerful spell. The energy surged through her, a radiant beam aimed straight at Morgath, intent on breaking the curse once and for all. The beam of light struck Morgath with a force that shook the earth. The air crackled as the curse writhed, desperate to hold on to its victim. But Elara's love was a flame that consumed the darkness, and slowly, the shadows began to dissipate. With a final anguished scream, Morgath was engulfed by the light, the curse unraveling around him. Ilara and Kale watched as the darkness melted away, revealing a tranquil forest bathed in warmth and color, signaling the end of an era of fear. As peace settled in, Alara collapsed to her knees, breathless from the exertion. Kale rushed to her side, his heart swelling with pride. They had fought against the odds, and together they had rewritten their destinies. In the aftermath, whispers of their bravery spread throughout the land. Alara's name became synonymous with courage and defiance, inspiring others to challenge traditions that bound them. Love had not only changed their fate, but that of many others. Ilara and Kale, now revered as heroes, decided to create a sanctuary for those oppressed by tradition. They envisioned a haven where love and magic could flourish, free from the constraints of the past, where anyone could choose their own destiny. However, as they began to build their dream, remnants of the curse lingered. Shadows of doubt and fear still haunted Ilara, threatening to unravel the peace they had fought so hard to achieve. She would need to confront her inner turmoil to truly embrace her new life. Kale noticed the changes in Ilara, the way she hesitated when joy approached. He vowed to stand by her side, reminding her that love was a continuous journey, one that required courage and vulnerability. Together, they could face whatever shadows remained. One fateful night, Ilara ventured into the forest, seeking clarity under the stars. Here, she communed with her ancestors, asking for guidance and the strength to let go of her fears. The silence of the night enveloped her, offering solace. As dawn broke, Ilara's heart felt lighter. She understood that her past did not define her. It was the love she shared with Kale that would forge their future. Accepting her history was the first step towards true freedom. With newfound determination, Alara returned to Kale, ready to share her journey of healing. Together, they crafted rituals that honored their ancestors while celebrating their love, creating a bridge between the past and the future. As their sanctuary flourished, they welcomed those seeking refuge from tradition. Alara and Kale became beacons of hope, guiding lost souls toward acceptance and love. Their bond became a testament to the strength found in vulnerability. Yet, the echoes of Morgath's dark magic still lingered in the air, reminding them that the past had not been completely vanquished. They knew that they must remain vigilant against any remnants of darkness that threatened their newfound peace. Elara and Kale decided to host a festival, inviting everyone to celebrate love and magic. This gathering would not only fortify their bond, but also serve as a reminder that light could always triumph over darkness. The festival night was filled with laughter and joy, but as Alara danced under the stars, a shadowy figure appeared at the edge of the festivities. It was a remnant of Morgath's magic, seeking to reclaim what it had lost. Alara sensed the disturbance, her heart racing as she called upon her magic, ready to confront the darkness once more. Kale joined her, their hands intertwined, their love a shield against the encroaching shadows. The remnant laughed, a chilling sound that echoed through the night. It taunted Alara, whispering of her family's past and the curse that would never truly die. Yet she stood firm, refusing to let fear dictate her fate. With a powerful surge of magic, Alara and Kale unleashed an overwhelming light, pushing back the darkness. The energy pulsed like a heartbeat, resonating with the love that had grown between them, defying the remnants of the curse. As the light enveloped the shadow, it screamed in fury, the curse unraveling before their eyes. Elara realized that true defiance came not just from power, but from love, an everlasting force that could shatter any chain. The remnant faded into nothingness, leaving behind a sense of tranquility. The festival erupted in cheers, unaware of the battle that had just taken place. Alara and Kale shared a moment of victory, knowing they had truly triumphed over their past. As the night wore on, Elara and Kale gazed at the stars, reflecting on how far they had come. They understood that while the battle against darkness was won, the journey of love and growth would continue, evolving with every challenge they faced. The festival became an annual tradition, each year celebrating love, freedom, and the triumph over darkness. Elara and Kale's story inspired generations, a living testament that one's past didn't have to dictate their future. With each passing year, Elara's magic grew stronger, no longer tethered by fear or doubt. She became a guiding light for those seeking their own paths, teaching them that love's true power lay in acceptance and courage. Kale stood by her side, his unwavering support bolstering her growth. Together, they built a community rooted in love, where magic was not feared but celebrated, creating a legacy that transcended time and tradition. One evening, as the sun set, Ilara and Kale stood upon a hill overlooking their flourishing sanctuary. They understood that their love had not only broken chains, but had also woven a new tapestry of harmony and acceptance. With hearts full of gratitude, they vowed to continue their journey, knowing that their love story would inspire others to challenge the chains that bound them. The legacy of Alara and Kale would echo through time, reminding all of the power of true love. And so, their tale became a beacon of hope, an enduring reminder that love can indeed shatter the strongest chains of tradition. Elara and Kael proved that no darkness is too great and no curse too binding when hearts unite in love. In the heart of the ancient forest, shadows danced around Alara and Kael as they sought refuge from the eyes of those who would tear them apart. They knew the risks of their love, yet it burned fiercely within them, illuminating the darkness of their surroundings. With each whispered promise, they forged a bond stronger than any curse. However, the curse that bound Ilara was not easily forgotten. The village seethed with discontent, driven by fear of the witch's power. Each day, she felt the weight of their judgment, a constant reminder that their love might not be enough to shield them from the storm brewing on the horizon. Determined to break free from tradition, Ilara sought the counsel of an ancient spirit, hidden deep within the forest's depths. It was said that this spirit held the key to unlocking the chains of her ancestors and could help her navigate the perilous path ahead. But the cost would be steep, and the path fraught with danger. As Alara approached the spirit, she felt a surge of hope and trepidation. "Will you help me break my curse?" she asked, her voice trembling with emotion. The spirit's eyes glimmered with the weight of millennia, and it replied, "Only true love can fulfill the promise of freedom, but sacrifices must be made." Meanwhile, Kale faced his own trials. The villagers, sensing Ilara's growing power, sought to put an end to their union. They whispered accusations and plotted against him, hoping to sever the bond that had become a beacon of hope in their darkened lives. Kale's heart raced as he prepared to confront their anger. In a moment of desperation, Kale turned to the village elder, seeking guidance and understanding. He shared tales of their love, weaving a narrative of hope that resonated even with the hardest hearts. "Our love is a light that can guide us through the darkness," he pleaded, his voice a mixture of fear and determination. The elder listened intently, torn between tradition and the undeniable truth of Kale's words. The struggle within him mirrored that of the village. Could they truly abandon centuries of belief for the sake of two souls? As Kale spoke, the elder felt a glimmer of possibility emerging from the shadows of his heart. With renewed hope, Alara returned to Kale, sharing the spirit's message. They knew their love would be put to the ultimate test, and sacrifices awaited. Together, they vowed to face whatever darkness lay ahead, united in purpose and commitment, their hearts intertwined against the odds. Emboldened by their shared resolve, Ilara and Kale set forth on a quest to gather allies, those who believed in the power of love over fear. Each encounter brought them closer to a pivotal confrontation, igniting a fire within the hearts of those who had once turned away from the witch's legacy. As they journeyed, Whispers of their defiance spread throughout the land, challenging old fears and prejudices. A movement took shape as more souls stepped forward, inspired by the love that dared to defy curses and traditions entwined in their lives. The tide was turning, but darkness loomed ever closer. However, every powerful change invites resistance. The elders convened a secret meeting, plotting to extinguish the flicker of rebellion that Elara and Kale had sparked. Their hearts hardened by fear, they concocted schemes steeped in old magic, determined to reestablish control over the village and its people. As the moon waned, Elara sensed the shift in the air. She and Kale gathered their newfound allies, strategizing their next steps. They understood the stakes were high, the elders' malevolence had awakened, and the time had come to confront the shadows that threatened to engulf them and their love. United in their cause, they ventured to the sacred stone circle, a site of power that had witnessed centuries of tradition. It was here they would channel their love and strength, calling upon the spirits of the past to aid them in their fight against those who would see them fail. As they gathered within the circle, Alara closed her eyes, feeling the energy of those who had come before her, a lineage of witches who once fought for love against centuries of oppression. Her heart swelled with their strength, igniting a fire that coursed through her veins, ready to challenge the tides of fate. Kale, standing resolutely beside her, drew upon the love that had blossomed against all odds. He took Alara's hands, grounding her, his voice steady and unwavering. Together, we will forge a new path, he vowed, a promise that resonated with the very essence of their souls, echoing into the cosmos. As they channeled their combined energies, a brilliant light erupted from the stone circle, illuminating the night. The spirits of the past joined them, their voices joining in a chorus of defiance that shook the very foundations of tradition. It was a warning to those who would challenge the power of true love. Outside the circle, the elders felt the disturbance, a surge of power that rattled their ancient beliefs. Fear gripped their hearts as they realized their hold over the village was weakening. They convened again, desperation fueling their resolve to crush the rebellion before it could take root. Realizing they needed to act quickly, the elders devised a plan to summon an ancient curse, one that could bind Elara and Kale's love. They prepared dark rituals under the cover of night, weaving spells that sought to extinguish the light that had begun to shine in the hearts of the villagers. Back at the stone circle, Elara and Kale felt the pulse of impending danger. Determined not to let fear dictate their fates, they focused on the power of their love. Together, they began to craft a counterspell, drawing upon the strength of their allies to protect what they had forged. With each incantation, they felt the energy of their ancestors guiding them through this perilous moment. The air thickened with magic as they channeled their collective hope, creating a powerful shield to stand against the darkness that approached, bracing themselves for the storm to come. As the elders unleashed their curse, a dark cloud descended upon the village, threatening to consume everything in its path. In that moment of chaos, Elara and Kael stood firm, their hands raised in unison, the shield of love glowing fiercely against the encroaching shadows. The clash of dark and light was fierce, a battle that echoed through the hearts of every villager. As they witnessed the struggle, hope ignited in their chests. They began to gather at the edges of the stone circle, drawn by the magnetic force of the love that defied the curse. Alara and Kale felt the strength of their community bolster them, their love intertwined with the hopes of all. In that moment, they understood that it was not just their battle, it was a fight for all those who had been oppressed by fear and tradition. They drew upon that collective love, unleashing a surge of power. With one final incantation, Ilara and Kale summoned a wave of light so brilliant it sliced through the dark cloud, dispersing it like morning mist. The villagers gasped, witnessing the power of love triumph over fear. In that moment, the curse began to fracture, revealing a new dawn on the horizon. Yet the elders were not defeated. As the curse fractured, they felt their power slipping away, but desperation drove them to wield their final remnants of magic. They attempted to seal Alara and Kale's love forever, casting one last dark enchantment before retreating into the shadows. In the face of this final assault, Kale stepped forward, calling upon the villagers to stand with him. "We have the power to change our fate," he shouted, his voice echoing through the circle, urging everyone to harness the light within them and join the fight for their future. Inspired by Kale's bravery, the villagers raised their voices, chanting in unison, a powerful incantation filled with hope, love, and defiance. Each word resonated like a heartbeat, amplifying their strength, creating a harmonious force that collided with the Elder's dark magic. In that moment of unity, Ilara and Kale felt an overwhelming surge of power. The very ground beneath them trembled as the love they shared intertwined with the hopes of the entire village, converging into a force so strong it threatened to shatter the chains of tradition once and for all. As light and dark clashed, the stone circle became a battleground for the hearts of the villagers. This confrontation was not just for Ilara and Kale. It was for generations who had suffered under the weight of tradition. They were all warriors in this fight for love and freedom. With one final surge of collective love, the villagers unleashed a wave of energy that broke through the last remnants of the Elder's curse. Light enveloped the circle, illuminating the darkness and steering them toward a new beginning, a future where love was valued over fear. As the dust settled, the Elders were left powerless, their dark magic rendered ineffective. The villagers stood together, hearts full of hope and determination, united in their resolve to embrace a new path free from the chains of tradition. Elara and Kale embraced, tears of joy in their eyes. In the aftermath, the villagers began to rebuild their lives. They embraced the legacy of Elara and Kale, creating a community that valued love and acceptance over fear and tradition. Elara, now free from her curse, stood at the forefront of this new era, a symbol of hope. Kael supported Elara every step of the way, his unwavering love a foundation upon which they built their future. Together, they held gatherings to share their story, inspiring others to challenge their own fears and embrace the transformative power of love. However, remnants of the past lingered. Some villagers struggled to accept this new reality, wrestling with the fear that had been ingrained in them for generations. Alara and Kale recognized the need for patience and understanding as they worked to heal the wounds of their community. Alara organized gatherings to foster dialogue, creating a safe space for villagers to express their fears and concerns. With each conversation, they dismantled the walls built by distrust and fear, slowly forging a community bound by love rather than chains. As the seasons changed, the village began to flourish. With Alara's guidance, they implemented new traditions that celebrated love and acceptance, honoring the strength it took to break free from the past. The once feared witch was now revered as a leader of their new era. Yet, shadows still lurked. A faction of villagers, unwilling to relinquish the past, conspired in secret, plotting to regain control over the hearts and minds of their neighbors. They feared that with Elara's influence, their own traditions would be lost forever. Elara sensed the growing unrest and understood that the path to true acceptance would not be easy. She called upon her allies, including those who had once feared her, to stand together against the rising tide of opposition. Their collective strength would be their shield. In an effort to bridge the divide, Alara proposed a festival celebrating the union of old and new traditions. It would be a chance for villagers to share their histories, fears, and hopes, fostering understanding and reconciliation. This bold move could either unite them or tear them apart. As the festival approached, anticipation filled the air. Ilara and Kale worked tirelessly, preparing activities that honored both the past and the future. They hoped this gathering would dispel lingering fears and create a new narrative where love triumphed over darkness. On the day of the festival, the village shimmered with excitement. Alara and Kael greeted each villager warmly, encouraging them to share their stories and embrace one another's differences. The air crackled with energy as old wounds began to heal, and the spirit of unity took root. As the sun set, the festival reached its peak. Villagers danced and laughed together, celebrating their shared humanity. Alara stood at the center, her heart swelling with pride, knowing they had taken a significant step toward a future where love prevailed over fear and division. Yet, just as joy filled the air, the dissenting faction made their move. They sought to disrupt the festival, sowing seeds of discord and fear among the villagers. Their dark intentions threatened to undermine all that Alara and Kale had worked for, but they were ready to face this new challenge. Alara sensed the shift in the atmosphere and quickly rallied her allies, urging them to remain vigilant. She understood that the festival's success depended on their unity and resolve. Together, they prepared to counter the darkness that threatened to engulf the celebration. As the dissenters made their move, Elara and Kale stood firm, embodying the love and strength that had brought their community together. In that moment, they realized that the battle for acceptance was far from over, but they were ready to fight, knowing that love would always prevail. As shadows loomed over the festival grounds, Elara summoned her magic, a shimmering light in her palm. She felt the weight of generations upon her shoulders, each chain of tradition threatening to bind her. Kale stood beside her, heart racing, embodying the hope that had ignited this rebellion. The dissenters, cloaked in darkness, advanced with fierce determination, their eyes cold and unyielding. Elara could feel their disdain for her kind, a bitterness that had festered for generations. But she stood tall, channeling the strength of her ancestors to counter their hatred. With a deep breath, Elara raised her hand, and a wave of light burst forth, illuminating the darkened faces of her adversaries. She would not let fear define her. Instead, she would show them the beauty of her magic and the purity of her love for Kale. Kale took a step forward, emboldened by Lara's courage. "We stand for love and acceptance," he shouted, his voice echoing across the festival grounds. The crowd around them murmured, caught between fear and the undeniable truth of their words. The dissenters faltered for a moment, taken aback by the unexpected strength displayed by the couple. Alara seized the opportunity, her voice rising above the din, as she began to weave a tale of love that transcended the hatred ingrained in their hearts. She spoke of generations lost to fear, of families torn apart by prejudice. Elara's words resonated with some in the crowd, igniting flickers of empathy. What if love could truly bridge the divide that had separated them for so long? Among the crowd, a few dissenters began to question their beliefs, whispers of doubt spreading like wildfire. Perhaps, just perhaps, the age-old chains of tradition could be broken in the face of such undeniable love. Elara sensed the shift, her heart beating faster. But not all were swayed. The leader of the dissenters stepped forward, eyes blazing with fury. "You think love can change our way of life?" he mocked, his voice dripping with disdain. Tension hung thick in the air, a storm brewing just beneath the surface. Elara refused to back down. "Love is powerful enough to change hearts," she countered. Her voice steady, with every word she summoned the magic of her ancestors, a force that had always been tied to the very fabric of their existence. The leader sneered, rallying his followers to charge, but Kale stepped in front of Elara, a fierce protector. "If you wish to fight, you will have to go through me first," he declared, the fire of bravery igniting in his heart. Realizing the gravity of the situation, Elara focused her energy, weaving protective spells around Kale. She would not allow hatred to harm him. Her love would be their shield against the coming storm. The dissenters charged, but as they reached Kale, they collided with an invisible barrier, Elara's magic holding strong. Gasps echoed through the crowd, both sides stunned by the unexpected power of love woven into magic. Disbelief transformed into anger as the dissenters regrouped, their leader rallying them for another assault. "This is but a trick. We will break this illusion," he shouted, fueling their determination to overcome the barrier. Alara's heart raced as she sensed the surge of negative energy. The barrier held firm, but she knew it would not last forever. She needed to find a way to channel the collective love from the crowd to strengthen her magic. Help me! Ilara cried out, her voice breaking through the chaos. She reached out to the crowd, urging them to join her in a chant of love and unity. Together, they could amplify her magic beyond the confines of tradition. At first, there was hesitation, but then one by one, the townsfolk began to join her, their voices rising in harmony. With each note, Ilara felt her power swell, a brilliant light beginning to glow around them. The dissenters, taken aback by the sheer force of love flooding the festival grounds, faltered again. The energy was palpable, a living entity that pushed against their darkness, threatening to engulf them in its warmth. In that moment of vulnerability, Ilara seized the chance to drive her message home. This is the power of love. It binds us, it frees us. We can break these chains together. Her voice rang out, unmistakably strong and resolute. Inspired, more voices joined the chant, a chorus of acceptance that echoed into the twilight. The dissenters began to tremble, doubt creeping into their hearts as they witnessed the unity formed before them. But the leader, blinded by rage and fear, shouted louder than the chorus, trying to drown them out. Love is weakness. You are betraying your ancestors. His words were sharp, but they began to lose their power amidst the rising harmony. Elara felt the leader's negativity like a dark cloud, but she pushed through, urging the crowd to sing louder. Together, we are stronger than any chains. Together, we can create a new legacy of love. As the magic swelled, Elara's heart soared with the collective energy. She closed her eyes, feeling the warmth of love enveloping her, knowing that the strength of their unity could break the chains that had bound them for too long. The dissenters, now visibly shaken, hesitated once more, their anger fading into confusion. Could love truly be a force strong enough to dismantle the traditions they had held dear? Their resolve began to crumble. In that moment, the leader's facade shattered, revealing the fear he had masked all along. What if we lose everything? He whispered to himself, doubt creeping in as he witnessed the transformation around him. Alara seized the moment, her voice ringing out clear and bright. Together, we can create a future where love guides us. Let's abandon the chains of the past and forge a new path forward. The crowd erupted in cheers, the sound echoing through the night air, a celebration of unity and love. Even some of the dissenters hesitated to join in, torn between their upbringing and the hope they now felt. Caught in the tide of emotion, the leader faltered, struggling to regain control. He felt the ground beneath him shifting, the once solid foundation of tradition crumbling as love swept through the crowd like wildfire. Ilara's heart raced as she saw the cracks in the dissenters' walls. With renewed vigor, she urged the crowd to channel their love into a powerful force. Let us rise together. Let us break these chains. The townsfolk shouted in unison, their voices creating a symphony of love that surged through the air. Elara focused all her energy into the barrier, determined to reinforce it against the final assault from the dissenters. The leader, in a last-ditch effort, rallied his followers for one final charge against Elara's barrier. But the love emanating from the crowd was too powerful. It surged, pushing back the darkness that threatened to engulf them. As the dissenters advanced, Elara stood firm, channeling the collective energy of the community into her magic. The barrier shimmered, reflecting the love and hope that filled the air, blinding in its brilliance. The two forces collided, the dissenters' anger crashing against the warmth of love. It was a clash of light and dark, of tradition versus acceptance, and in that moment, the ground trembled with the weight of their battle. As the energy swirled, Ilara felt herself being drawn into the battle, her heart pounding with intensity. This was not just a fight for acceptance. It was a fight for their very existence, for the right to love freely. With a surge of courage, Ilara summoned the powerful magic of her lineage, a force that had lain dormant for far too long. She would not allow the darkness to triumph. Her love for Kale fueled her determination. The barrier pulsed with energy as Ilara channeled the love of her ancestors, merging it with the present moment. It was a tapestry of hope, woven intricately with threads of courage, compassion, and unwavering love. Suddenly, a wave of light erupted from the barrier, pushing back against the dissenters with unyielding force. It was a culmination of every whispered wish for acceptance, every act of kindness, and every moment of love shared. As the light surged forward, some dissenters began to retreat, fear fueling their escape. The leader, however, stood frozen, caught between the power of love and the chains of his own making. In the midst of the chaos, Kale reached out to Ilara, his eyes filled with determination. "We are stronger together," he shouted, a reminder that their love could overcome even the most formidable of obstacles. Ilara nodded, feeling the connection between them strengthen. "Together, we will forge a new path," she declared, her voice echoing with conviction as she channeled Kale's strength into her magic. With a final surge of power, Ilara and Kale combined their magic, a radiant explosion of light that shattered the barriers of hatred. In that moment, hope blossomed, illuminating the hearts of all present. The air was thick with emotion as some of the dissenters dropped their weapons, overwhelmed by the sheer force of love. In that instant, the barriers between them began to dissolve, revealing a shared humanity beneath the surface. Alara and Kale stood at the center, light cascading around them, their hearts swelling with hope. They had awakened something profound in their community, a realization that love could indeed conquer all. As the last remnants of darkness faded, Elara stepped forward, her voice steady. "Let this day mark a new beginning. Together, we will write a new story, one that celebrates love and acceptance." The crowd erupted in joyous cheers, their hearts united in celebration. The once divided community now stood together, no longer bound by fear, but lifted by the promise of a brighter future. As the festival resumed, Elara and Kale exchanged a knowing glance, their journey far from over. Together, they had begun to forge a new legacy of love, but the fight for acceptance would continue, its echoes resonating through their hearts.